Our brother Michael came to California with a dream of a better life for himself and his family. Michael's life encompassed hard work, kind-heartedness, and a deep loyalty to his family and friends. Michael truly was a gentle soul, and I would like to share some stories about him that we all hold dear to our hearts. Michael's dream of a better life first landed him in Los Angeles, where he had a variety of jobs and a rotation of sisters and friends as roommates. Michael was the best roommate anyone could have asked for. However, we may have depended too much on the laddie, as I found a quote on his refrigerator that reads, "Happiness is having a large, loving, close-knit family in another city." After a few odd jobs, Michael, affectionately known to his friends and family as Miguel, eventually began working at Chevron, where he worked until his retirement. Throughout his years in California, Michael endeared himself to many. He had endless wonderful traits, but perhaps one of his most amazing was his acute memory and attention to detail. When he was summoned to jury duty, Michael was one of the few persons I know who was delighted to perform his civic duty. His fellow jurors never knew what hit them when Miguel could recite the day's proceedings verbatim. The only time I am aware that his memory failed him was at Disneyland with Hugh, searching for the car in the pouring rain, each with a child under his arm. He and Hugh did make amends for getting the kids soaking wet by putting their shoes in the oven to dry when they returned home. Michael's unparalleled memory was also served him well when, in his words, he would dip for Dale and play cards. Always an enthusiastic player and past champion of the Lana Open, the annual Daly card game. The games could often become, as hotel staff in Mexico can attest, very animated. At times a cautious player, he has been known to sit at 95 points in a game of 110 without a bid for 17 hands. However, there was nothing Michael liked more than to lash a card with glee. The banter, an integral part of playing cards with Michael, actually caused strangers to inquire as to what language he was speaking. Michael's enthusiasm for cards could also be seen as he watched his beloved San Diego Chargers. In fact, he proclaimed 2007 the year his Chargers would make the Super Bowl. Now, Miguel, it's up to you. The last time I spoke with Miguel, he offered his condolences to the 49ers and the Vikings for the dreadful seasons he was sure they would have. Some of you may not know, Michael was an accomplished football player in Ireland. At one game, he was playing so well, a player from the opposing team tried to injure him. Well, that player soon had to run madly to escape Pop Daly and his cane. Always a man of wise words, usually spoken with a booming voice, Michael loved to offer pieces of advice to his nieces and nephews. Michael's last piece of advice to my son David was that I will truly never forget. David was driving his grandfather's old Buick around California, and Michael, in his words, told him, with a few mans thrown in, that David had to get himself a proper chick cruiser and to get rid of his old man's car. With such sayings and of his people's skills, I felt he would make a great bartender. in his retirement. He agreed, but he would only enroll in bartending school if I also enrolled. So the two of us made the journey to Santa Ana bartending school for 4 days. Well, we got off to a bit of a rough start when Miguel knocked over the entire set of liquor bottles in one fell swoop. But of course, Miguel quickly became the teacher's favorite with his endless cajoling and amazing memory for how to make every drink in the book. Michael will always live on in our hearts as we remember the dear moments we each had with him. He truly realized his American dream, but what he will be remembered for is his extraordinary spirit and kind heart. As a brother, uncle, and friend, he truly gave of himself, and we will all miss Miguel. More than can be expressed in words. To conclude, I would like to end with a prayer for our Miguel. From the rising of the sun till its going down, we'll remember him. At the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we'll remember him. At the opening of the buds and in the rebirth of spring, we'll remember him. At the blueness of the skies and the warmth of summer, we'll remember him. At the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we'll remember him. At the beginning of the year and when it ends, we'll remember him. When we are weary and in need of strength, we'll remember him. When we are lost and sick at heart, we'll remember him. When we have joys we wish to share, we will miss him. But as long as we live, he too will live, for he is part of us, in our thoughts and our deeds. And may his memory always be a blessing. Amen.
I would just like to say a few words to thank everybody for coming here to celebrate Michael's better life. He'd be very proud of his good friends at Chevron, his neighbours that he loved in that beautiful house, and his good friends in San Francisco. He loved going up there. He has said to me a few times that you've got a great bunch of guys up there. I'd like to thank Kieran for coming to Seattle. On a lighter note, a few weeks ago, or actually, about 2 weeks ago, we heard that Kieran was in the final table of the World Series of Poker in Vegas. So I left a message for Kieran on his cell phone saying that he had Michael Daly in his corner and wished him well. But it so happened, Kieran won the whole thing. And he probably had a little bit of skill as well. But I thank Michael for that. I'd like to thank Vera for following through on a hunch that something was up with Michael. A good friend Daly, and her niece Kathy, and the good neighbours Gary and Cindy for locating Michael that night. I'd like to thank Margaret for doing a great job of finding O'Connor's mortuary, good people. It was new to us, everything was new to us, and they did a good job. Thank them. Just to everybody, we're having a little party back at the Doubletree. So everybody, hopefully everybody can come back and we'll have a good time with Michael singing off, and he so richly deserves. The rest of the family, Carl, he'd been so proud of you. He was such a good singer. He'd been so proud he heard, well, he did hear you sing that song today. To Mary, Norman, Geraldine, everybody helped in giving Michael a good singing off. To his beautiful nieces and nephews. He'd been so proud of you guys. So I'll finish. If anybody else wants to say a word, please go ahead and we'll have a good sing song from Michael. Please, guys.